very happy to be here and share our experience building a PWA storefront of the next generation. So let's start about our path to glory. Before starting the development of initial release of our GoMesh PWA storefront, it was important for us to decide the architecture and approach to not just developing a PWA, but also customizing and extending it with no stress for developers. So, after days of brainstorming and even more brainstorming, we came to an agreement. Our PWA storefront should allow our developers to easily create, extend, and deploy new existing features, use drag and drop to apply these features on any PWA page from the admin panel, and also create new layouts for world-class storefront design. So we've chosen PWA Studio because we specialize in Magento for 10 years. We know it inside out, and we truly believe that this is the #1 platform for e-commerce as proven by Gartner for many years in a row now. As we never had a doubt in the potential of Magento PWA Studio, it was, well, obvious for us to create our product on top of it. Now, let's dive into the details. A PWA storefront, well, it's basically a set of pages. Some are used for static content, such as most links in a store's footer. Most pages are full of dynamic content, such as category page or a product page. Now, imagine that you, as a developer, you can create and modify as many unique storefronts as needed and also enjoy the process. It's possible, and here's how we achieve this. We started from the top level logic, the storefront design management system. The storefront design management system is a strict hierarchy. It consists of themes as the highest level entity at the top. Then there are layouts, and at the bottom we have sections. Let's go through each of these entities. Themes. Themes are the highest entity in our hierarchy. In Magento 2, that's your Luma, Porto, or any other theme. In PWA Storefront, it's our GoMesh theme. It's basically the parent theme that can be used by the developers to create as many child themes as needed. Well, a theme is basically the most obvious entity here. You can create as many themes as necessary, which is a real dream for developers and store owners as a result, working on Magento open source and Adobe Commerce. Now, let's move on to layouts. A layout is an entity that corresponds to a page, for example, a home page, terms and conditions page, a product page, and so on. Or it can be a part of a page, for example, a header, a footer, mini cart, checkout, and so on. Consider a layout to be a part of PWA that you will want to decompose into even smaller pieces where you can apply content and functionality. And this is where sections come in handy. Sections are the last but not least entity in this hierarchy. A section is a specified location within your layout where you can drag and drop content and features that you have developed for your PWA. So consider a footer layout. This layout is at higher level of a PWA customization. So what you'd want to do now is to create and apply a set of sections for your footer layout. Each section allows you to add pieces of content and functionality within this particular layout. And the same logic is for any other layout within your PWA storefront. So the storefront design management system has all you need to create multiple fully customizable themes of any complexity that meet all the requirements submitted by clients to the developers. Now, we know how to create a unique design, a new theme with its layouts and sections. But that's actually, well, it's an empty frame or a canvas for the content and functionality. Let's see how you can add this content and functionality to your themes with no stress at all. So, what do developers enjoy doing besides debugging and having a beer? Well, obviously, developers love to create new features. We also love debugging, beer, and development. So we combined our love for the beautiful and created so-called widgets. Widgets are independent pieces of functionality that can be applied to any suitable section of a layout within your theme. Have you ever played jigsaw puzzles? Well, basically, widgets are exactly these puzzles. The more the puzzles are there, the more interesting it gets for everyone involved in the process. A widget can be anything: a CMS block, a slider, a carousel, an extension, and so on. So let's look at extensions in a bit more detail. How can a developer transform an extension integrated into our PWA solution and transform it into a widget itself? It's simple. Basically, there are 3 steps. Step 1 is you actually develop your extension. Start with something simple to get your hands dirty. It doesn't have to be something very, very crazy. Once you've created your extension, you'll want to open the DIXML file and make a few changes to transform the extension into a widget. So you'll want to add the following item names into your DIXML file. The type is your unique component type. The code is your unique component code. The label is a text value that identifies the widget in the admin panel. For example, if you name the extension PWA test, this will be the name of the extension that will be shown as a widget in the admin panel. Now, permissions, this can be tricky and also very useful. This is actually what layouts can be used for your extension, also known as a widget, where you can add it. For example, let's say we want to add a search widget. It makes perfect sense for you to restrict the widget to only a header, well, maybe somewhere else, maybe a footer, I don't know. It all depends on what the business needs and what's your assignment. Of course, you won't be adding a search under a product page's description, so you can use permissions to restrict where exactly this particular extension or widget can be added to your layout within your theme. A component is if you want to specify a specific component of the plugin, then this field specifies the path to your specific component. If the plugin already connects the component you need, this field may be left blank. And finally, you can use the plugin to name your particular plugin. And that's it. So develop the extension, add the necessary information to the DIXML file, and the last step is you deploy the code. And that's it, you're done. This is all you need to create your very own first widget for the PWA. Sounds awesome? Well, there's even more. At the end of the session, we will provide everyone a link to the GitHub repository where you will find a sample extension, Hello World, which was developed for the GoMesh PWA storefront. You'll be able to download the code and also review a small video presentation from our PWA team lead. Now, the theme layout section hierarchy allows you to create a unique design for your storefront. And widgets can be used to add functionality to any section of a layout within your theme. So the next step for us was to implement support for a page builder. And this would be a tool that would be used on top of the design management system and widgets for everyone to enjoy a stressful per-page customization directly from the admin panel. But we wanted to not just add a page builder. We wanted to create the ability to easily switch between different builders with minimum development effort. And knowing that this approach was implemented long before Adobe released Magento version 2.4.3 open source, it was a really wise decision, and you'll see why in a moment. So initially, we went with a page builder based on Grapes.js. It was a free open source project that met all of the requirements at the moment, from content creation on CMS pages to applying content and features to dynamic pages based on our design management system hierarchy. So you can use the builder to modify layouts, such as a footer, and drag and drop specific sections to your layouts, which are also basically widgets that can be added to your layout, and thus creating the perfect PWA theme. But remember, the Page Builder tool is just a tool that visualizes and assists you as you apply the content and features. So once Adobe introduced the Adobe Page Builder to Magento open source in version 2.4.3, we quickly adapted the tool to Adobe's one, made some quick adjustments to support our widgets, and voila, initial support for the design management system and widgets for Adobe Commerce's Page Builder in GOMESH PWA Studio is now available. We switched Page Builder tools with no stress at all and did not lose any piece of functionality along the way. And the best part is that with Adobe Builder being available now for both open source and Adobe Commerce, developers have almost limitless possibilities when it comes to creating a powerful PWA solution of any complexity for any client. Our upcoming stable release will have full Adobe Page Builder support for our widgets and the design management system. Potential is colossal. We've gone through the process of creating a unique design with its layouts and sections. We have also applied content and features to these sections, and we saved the configurations and so on. And now comes the magic. All this information is passed to the PWA during the build process, and the PWA basically receives, let's call it a map of the layouts, sections, and widgets within them, and thus PWA renders them on the storefront. Everything is automated, and that's the beauty. So now you know how to work with the design management system, with the widgets, how the Page Builder is used to help your clients create a PWA of their dreams, and so on. But, well, something is missing. Let's assume that you are helping with the design of CMS pages and blocks using the builder. Of course, you're creating content locally and have to push the changes to the dev environment. If you create a CMS page, apply widgets to it with the Builder tool, this means that you don't actually code. You use the drag and drop approach. You create content, and you need to somehow move everything that's configured on your local environment to the dev environment or anywhere else. How can you do this if you don't have basically what to push? Well, this is where the export import functionality comes in handy. It's basically a 5-step approach. You create and modify the pages, settings for different extensions that are available in your PWA, and so on. Once you're happy with the result, you can export the settings, either for those pieces of functionality that have been modified. For example, if we were working on CMS pages, you would want to export only CMS page configuration, or for everything. It all depends on what you want to achieve. So once you click on this export button, you'll get a JSON file exported with all the settings, all the information based on what you have configured. Now, step 3 would be to deploy the changes to the dev environment. Basically, we're talking about the JSON file. Step 4, go to your dev environment, log into the admin panel, and click on the import button. And that's it. Step 5 is to enjoy the imported functionality from your local environment to your dev environment. And the same approach can be used for any other purpose. If you're working in the dev environment, you can do this to push this to stage, then from stage to prod. For example, a store owner might managed to do some changes on the front end using the Page Builder in production, and asks you to import the configuration to stage so that they would be aligned. Why not? Go to production, export the configuration, push the configuration to stage, import, and that's it. So at the end of the day, such an architectural environment allows you to create top-notch PWAs that you can be truly proud of. And here's an example. We have developed a PWA Studio solution based on our GoMesh PWA storefront for Bradshaw International, an American manufacturer of food service equipment. The project uses default Magento PWA Studio functionality, developed from scratch extensions and integrations, such as MageFan block with different customizations, a CyberSource payment method support with the ability to be loaded in an iframe, Klaviyo, and dozens of unique feature-based widgets all over the PWA page layouts, which can be tweaked as needed and further extended to meet our clients' needs. From rich content to a customer-friendly design, GoodCook has recently entered the PWA family, and with the powerful extensibility tools and Adobe Page Builder in hand, the potential for our developers to customize GoodCook PWA in the future is simply incredible. So creating an architecture that simplifies such a development process was key to our success, and we hope one day you will also create such powerful PWAs for your clients. Now, before we start the Q&A session, let's dream a little bit about the future of PWAs. Imagine a PWA solution with all of these described functionalities and a CSS framework packed with classes that can be composed to build any design directly in your market. Tailwind CSS, soon to be introduced into GoMesh PWA storefront, will allow developers to easily modify the design of any widget directly from the admin panel. It's basically real heaven for front-end developers. You can give each project a different look if you use the same elements, for example, a color palette or size and so on. Therefore, it's basically one of the few CSS frameworks that is not opinionated on how you should style a project. With Tailwind's pre-built classes, you can design the layout directly with the admin panel. You can also be able to easily extend the predefined options to you, add new ones, and much more. Tailwind's tool is a really powerful tool for front-end developers that will allow them to create multiple themes with unique designs. And to illustrate this power, here's a screenshot of the admin panel settings for a product carousel widget, which applies shadows. All you have to do is find your widget, open the configuration, set up what you want to add, and save the configuration. Then go to your storefront and check the results. And you can see here is the shadow for the feature product carousel. And even more news on Tailwind. Our team has deployed recently the very first small iteration to our dev environment. Our rising development star recorded a short video demonstrating this potential. If you want to check it out, stay tuned until the end of the session. And by the way, I also encourage you to join Jimmy Sanford later today, as he will talk about bringing themes to PWA Studio and Tailwind in particular. The next step in the PWA evolution, themes in PWA Studio, will help developers working on Magento open source and Adobe Commerce projects to create PWA storefronts of the next generation. Another dream that will soon be a reality is the integration with New Relic One, a powerful solution where you can view all your operational data. Well, consider the following case. You are working on a PWA for a client. You've added a dozen of customizable features, as well as implemented a customer-friendly design on the front. But before going live with this project, you want to check the PWA for potential performance issues. For example, way too many requests on a category page, especially during the first load of an uncached page. Maybe some errors, maybe some additional issues and bottlenecks. Also, connecting your PWA to New Relic One can be much more effective than simple debugging. So being able to review all kinds of useful data can help you make your PWA a top-notch solution and improve its quality. Quality always matters. The GoMesh PWA storefront will soon be integrated with New Relic One, and we encourage you to follow us on the same path with our PWAs. So imagine all this potential. Our path to glory has just begun. With new tools and development approaches appearing in the PWA technology on a regular basis now, we see PWA technology as the new development standard in e-commerce today. There's a lot of customers who want PWAs implemented for them. And with Magento PWA Studio backing you up with its extensibility framework, with its documentation, with its power, with Magento open source and Adobe Commerce, your limit is basically your own fantasy. So what we advise is dive deep into the PWA technology and enjoy what you do best. And to boost your excitement level, feel free to review our demo and other materials after the conference. Thank you.